is Evangelist Patsy Cole, and on today, you're going to get to know Be Made Whole Ministries.
Go on, I'll simply say it's on again. It's on again.
Hello everybody, my name is Desiree Mapp, and welcome to another episode of Getting to Know. Getting to Know is a web-based show where we highlight small business owners. If you run a small business, if you are an entrepreneur, we want to get to know you. We want to get to know your business. We want to get to know the inspiration behind your business. But we also like to share stories. And on today's show, we have a great survivor story to share with you. Today's guest is not only a survivor, she is a wife, she is a mother, she is an evangelist, and she is an entrepreneur. So you already know we got plenty of stuff to talk about. So welcome to the show, everybody, Evangelist Patsy Cole.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm so glad to be a part of the show today.
Before we start, I just want to say, when I had this idea to start the show late last year, you were one of the first people to say, I want to do it. And it didn't work out last season because of logistics, but thank you for still being available and still showing interest.
Well, I just thank you so much for allowing me to be on the show. And yes, I was like a kid in a candy store, like, I want to do this.
Okay, so like I said, we have a lot of stuff to cover, but I always like to start at the beginning. So where are you from?
Mineral Wells, Texas.
How far is that from here?
It is about an hour and a half, and if you just kind of think of the weather reports, you probably have heard of Mineral Wells, Texas.
Is it in the Panhandle?
Not that far west. It's actually about 45 minutes west of Fort Worth.
So how did you find your way here?
Into Arlington.
We're in Arlington, Texas, by the way, everybody.
I was a little country girl, of course, because Mineral Wells, Texas is a country town, small town. And I guess it was just one of those things, once I graduated from college, I didn't really want to live in a smaller city. So I didn't want the big city. I didn't want Dallas, Texas. So I just thought, I'll choose the in-between. And here we are, Arlington, Texas. Arlington wasn't as large as it is now. So it satisfied my taste is what I was looking for at that time.
Was it a difficult transition to go from, you say, the country to Fort Worth?
It was a transition because even though I came here after I graduated from college, where I graduated from was a small country town as well, Commerce, Texas. So it was a transition, but I was able to, to adjust because I really wanted it. So, but it was a transition indeed.
So we've been here for maybe about eight years or so. My husband and I, we lived for about 8 years or so, but you've been familiar with the area for a long time.
Oh, yes.
What do you say about how much what do you think as a person who's native to here has seen so much of the community in the Metroplex that they call it now? Did they call it the Metroplex back then?
Yes, it's been called the Metroplex for a while.
But it has definitely had this growth spurt or boom of economy and people, so it really doesn't feel like a small town. It's like one of the major cities in the United States. Exactly.
And I would say I've been here, as a matter of fact, probably about 30 years. And over the 30 years, not just Arlington, but Grand Prairie, Mansfield, all of that has grown tremendously. And in that growth, a lot of things have increased. I mean, we've had an influx of businesses that have started up, but crime, crime has increased, and we're definitely on the map in a way that we weren't before because of many reasons, but that's a good thing. But I've seen a lot of changes, just growth, and we're continuing to grow. So I think Arlington, Texas is a great place, even though it has, some of the crime rates, a high crime rate, to a certain extent. It's still a great place to raise your family, to start a business, and to live. So I really love being a resident of Arlington, Texas.
Okay. So we're going to fast forward. How old were you when you first got married?
When I first got married, this is my second marriage that I'm presently in.
Okay.
So you're speaking of the very first time?
Yeah, when you first got married.
Okay, we got to go back. Actually, that's pretty easy. I was about 22 years of age.
So I want to ask a two-part. Okay, now I want to ask a two-point question.
Okay.
Number one, before you answer.
Okay.
How did you know he was the one? / do you think you got married too soon at such a young age?
I can answer that quickly and easily. And he was at the grocery store as well.
Which grocery store?
I can never forget. Sack and Save.
What is it called now?
Well, it's not Sack and Save. There is still some Sack and Saves around, but I think they changed the name to Save a Lot.
Okay.
I believe they changed the name to Save a Lot. And here in Arlington, Texas, and just minding my own business, you know. And I'm glad he wasn't minding his own business. He was attending to mine. And so I met him at the grocery store, and just a conversation that took place that was quite interesting. He noticed my behavior, how I handled a particular situation in the store regarding one of the cashiers. She had made a very derogatory racial comment toward one of the customers, and I was offended by it. But the way that I handled that conversation and the way I handled my offense, it got his attention. So much so that he addressed me, you know, that he was really impressed with how I handled that, and just kind of, you know, commended me for how I handled that.
But then you also mentioned that during that time you got sick.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. What did you find out? What were you diagnosed with?
I was, after many tests, I was finally diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Now, what is that? Because you hear it all over,
Yes.
you know, the TV, but what exactly is fibromyalgia?
Fibromyalgia is actually a muscle disease. It's where the muscle tissue, the fibrous tissues, become so inflamed that they literally cause tremendous pain throughout the body in any area where you have fibrous tissue. The word myalgia means pain. So imagine being diagnosed with a disease that the very meaning is pain. And I endured that.
Where specifically on your body? All over?
I was just getting ready to say there are pressure points, and those pressure points are again where you have the fibrous tissue. So we're talking in the hip area. We're talking about in your knees. We're talking about, the muscles, you know, in your back and your shoulders and anywhere that you have muscle tissue, and your ankles, your feet. I mean, I literally, from one day to the next, had pain all over my body. I woke up with pain. I endured the day with pain. I, laid down at night still in pain. So there was no remedy to my pain.
The doctors didn't prescribe you a bunch of drug pills, pain pills?
Oh, they gave many prescriptions, and I can tell you none of the prescriptions dulled the pain. What they would do, they would put me asleep. So while I was asleep,
your body was
yes. And as soon as I was awakened, then the pain was there again. And so in order for me to, I would say, allow the medication, the prescription drugs to actually do what they did, I had to continue to consume the medication, in which I refused to do that as a health major. I just didn't want to do that. And so I probably endured a little bit more pain than maybe I had to, because I would not consume the medication as it was prescribed.
How can you be an active mom and your body is so much in pain? What are you able to do with how are your kids at the time?
My oldest was probably 13, 14, and my youngest was around 6 years of age.
And all they do is see mommy in pain.
They saw me in pain, and I continued to work in corporate America during this time until it became so unbearable that I went out on short-term disability. But they saw me continually carrying out the duties of a mom, even in my state of pain. That's just a part of being a mom. That's a part of being a mom. And so it went from the short-term disability to the point where I went out on long-term disability, because again, the pain, the pressure points became my entire body. I just couldn't even function any longer in corporate America. So I went out.
I would imagine it's hard to function just around the house, washing dishes and being a mom and helping with homework and trying to keep a guy interested.
Oh yes, I mean that was.
And you're all in pain.
Yes,
And
I remember having to tell him what I had been diagnosed with, and I can tell you, it was already unbelievable because of the statistics that this man would want to be in a relationship with a woman that already had 4 children.
Yeah.
So
And she has this situation, other situation.
Exactly. So I just knew that by me telling him that, I felt like he would probably, it may be a slow exit, but he was probably...
You were giving him an out.
Yes, he was probably going to be trying to figure out, what is the exit? How do I leave out of this?
How did you get out from fibromyalgia? Because it wasn't the drugs.
No, not at all.
Because the drugs don't do anything to cure it.
No,
they
treat symptoms.
Yeah, and put you to sleep. Apparently.
Exactly. And I got to a point, and mind you, I was a Christian, I was a believer, I knew that God was a healer, even at the point of time when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. But I think, as we sometimes do, we allow our bodies to speak to us louder than what the Word of God is speaking to us. But it got to a point in time where God's voice became louder. And I began to just ask him, God, what is your pathway for my healing? Because sometimes we think it's always standing in a prayer line. And I am an advocate for the laying on of hands. That's biblical. But in this particular case, God began to speak to me about the leaves of the trees being the healing for the nations. And I went on an entire research, in the scripture, and even just looking up, the leaves of the trees. What is he talking about? What are you saying to me, God? And he began to speak to me about, natural supplements, herbal supplements, and being able to start, a regimen of taking nutritional supplements to help heal my body. And it was so clear to me that I remember when my husband, who at that time, we at this point in time, we were engaged. And I remember when he got off of work that day and he came by my apartment, I told him, we have to go to some health food store, whole health store. We got to go. I was anxious about it. And he, again, being there to assist me, we immediately went, and I just was trusting God to show me, what do I need to do? We're in a whole health, holistic health is what they promoted, but they have all these products, and I'm like, okay, where do I start? And I'm just a believer that God does still speak. He hasn't stopped speaking. And he began to lead and guide me as to what products to begin to take. And all I can tell you is, as I began to take those products, day by day, my body was strengthened. And then the God began to also tell me about certain foods that I needed to abstain from taking. And I don't want to, kind of...
No, just speak on it. Because it are probably all the foods that I love to eat. So
okay, I will tell you the things that he showed me.
Okay.
These were the pertinent things. And he showed me that there were... Because when we go back to fibromyalgia is an autoimmune deficiency. Okay? So in other words, the immune system has been weakened. They don't actually know exactly what causes fibromyalgia, but they do know that it is a weakening of the immune system. And so God started showing me different foods that weaken the immune system. And one that we use in a lot of our foods is white flour. The white flour, it is bleached. It is toxic to our bodies. So when we think about white flour, all of the foods and the different things that I would, cook or bake using the white flour, God said, take that out of your diet. Whole milk. Whole milk. Our bodies are not designed to digest properly whole milk. And so he was telling me, do not drink the whole milk. And of course, yes, we need the vitamin D and we need the calcium, but there are other things that he ended up showing me what I needed to consume. But stop the whole milk.
What about 2%, 1%?
2% is better than the whole milk, but we're talking almond milk, we're talking soy.
That's better for
Yes, all of those are better. Rice milk, I mean, all of those are better than the whole milk. I just have to throw this in there for those that may doubt this. Whole milk, the cows produce milk for their calves. It's not for human consumption. And so, when we say that some people are lactose intolerant, well, the truth be known, we're all lactose intolerant to a certain extent.
Because the milk's not designed for us.
Exactly. So we're not digesting it properly. Yes. So he talked to me about, of course, table salt.
So he's going through a transition.
Yes.
You're going through a transition.
Yes.
And now the kids see that mommy's got somebody in her life.
Yes.
They're going through a transition as well.
Yes.
So as you see that and you guys go ahead and get married, he not only has to develop a relationship with you, he also has to develop a relationship with four children. So where's your role in this? Do you just sit back and let that happen? Or are you actively involved in trying to make sure, okay, child number one, I don't want to say the name of them, this is how you're going to be? I mean, because I'm just thinking about someone who may see this and they, have a relationship with, what is their role as that person who's being joined to the family? Are they should develop that relationship on their own, or do you get involved in that? Well, for your story, how did you handle that?
I would say we dated about 2.5 years prior to getting married. I would say probably that first year was more of, yes, we're dating. This is mama's boyfriend. Children, this is mama's boyfriend. But not a whole lot of interaction with them. There were a few times if I went, say, on an outing, somewhere where the kids could go, they went as well. But the first year, we didn't do a lot of interacting, or I didn't allow him to do a lot of interacting with the children.
Right.
Though he came to the house to visit, but not, it wasn't an in-your-face type thing. After that first year, when we realized, after I got engaged and realized that we would have a future together, then I realized the importance of that. But I can still say that I didn't accomplish what I probably would have accomplished if I'm able to go back in time. The sitting down with the children to develop that close relationship with each one individually, I think that definitely is necessary. I didn't do that, although we did have some sit-down talks as to what they should expect now that he is coming into my life, because you have to remember, after being married 10 years and then going about 2-3 years as a single parent, now, okay, the kids are looking like, okay, we're going to try to do this again. Well, it was a great transition for them. So, but I had to let them know what the expectations were, because he would be the head of my household. Right. He would be the authority in the household. So we did have those talks, but I will say I wish I would have had or spent more time or allowed him to have more time individually with each one of them, trying to get to know them, because they all have different personalities. And so I wish I would have done that. But I think we did well enough to allow them to be able to say, okay, mama's going to say I do. Okay, we'll let her do that.
Okay. About blending families. But sometimes that doesn't necessarily happen. I myself come from a single parent home, and I'm quite sure my mother wanted to get married again. But what message do you have for women who it just may not be, it just may not be for you, but you still have kids to raise? What message do you have for that?
To the single mom, I would say, first of all, you have to understand that because God has allowed you to birth these children are very important. And so, yes, you are important as well. But I would say, do not allow your label or your title as a single mother put you in a place where you don't value what you have, which is your children. And your children have value because they have their mom. And your worth is not equated to the label of a single mom. Your worth is determined, and your value is determined by who God says you are. And I would just want to encourage, any single mom to see themselves as one of value and as one as worth. And you don't have to give up on your hopes or your dreams in finding a mate, the man that or woman that God has designed for you. But I would say and I say that because, you have single fathers,
single
dads out there as well. But I would say your mindset, your perspective on your status is very, very important. Your children, they need to know that you're secure in who you are as this single parent. They need to see that you are strong, so they can strive to be strong beyond the years of being children. And I would just say that with me, as that single mom, I don't have the sad single mom story as to the low self-esteem, or, I just always gravitated toward who God said I was. And I knew that God was who he said that he was. So with that, I was able to, to be, I guess, let's say, a strong single mother. And I would just encourage, every single parent just to know who you are in God, find your identity in God, trust in him, that he knows where you are, and that he will do just what he said he would do, and that is to be a provider for you.
All right. Let's talk about Be Made Whole.
Yes.
Now that we've heard your story with fibromyalgia, I think I can guess where Be Made Whole came from. But
Yes.
let's talk about Be Made Whole. Anyway, where did it come from?
Well, Be Made Whole, God, it's amazing, how most things that are birthed, they're birthed out of some pain. Even the human life is birthed out of pain.
Yes.
And so Be Made Whole Ministries was birthed out of the pain that I went through, not only in my physical body, but also, again, the emotional piece and the depression and just everything that I went through during those years of waiting on my healing for fibromyalgia. What God showed me, he took me to the scripture where it may be familiar to you, but it's the passage of scripture where the man was by the pool, and he basically was paralyzed, couldn't move, and he trusted that there would be someone that would come along and help him get into the pool. Why was it a need for him to get into the pool? Because the pool was said to be one that would bring about healing at a time when the angels would come and stir up the waters. And the belief was that if you would get in the pool during the time that the angels were stirring up the waters, then you would be healed. So this man wanted to be healed, but his complaint was no one would help him and assist him to get in the water. Well, Jesus came by one day, and he was able to talk with this man, and this man made it known to Jesus about his complaint. And Jesus didn't ask him, do you want to be healed? Jesus asked him, do you want to be made whole? And with that, it took me on a word study about the word whole. And at that time, God showed me that his desire has always been that we would be whole, spirit, soul, body. We focus a lot of times, maybe as a Christian, on our spirit man. We may focus on the body, whether Christian or unbeliever. We may focus on the soul, our mind, our will, our emotions. But God said his desire is that we be made whole. And Jesus' desire for this man was not just that he regained his physical health from being paralyzed and invalid. He says, no, do you want to be made whole? He offered him a better way. I don't want to just heal you. I want to make you whole. And so that is God's desire. And so with that, his call upon my life at that time was to help others, teach them and help them to embrace that truth of being made whole, spirit, soul, and body.
So where does the NutriCleanse come in with Be Made Whole?
Okay, you're talking NutriCleanse, the detox.
The detox.
Yes, detox.
Yes. Yes. Is that a part of Be Made Whole?
Yes,
as
Be
well?
Made Whole Center is actually the business, and Be Made Whole Ministries, of course, is the ministry.
Right.
But it's interesting, the ministry was first, Be Made Whole Ministry. And afterwards, I was able to find out about a franchise called Market America. And Market America offers any individual to start their unfranchised. business. And so Be Made Whole Center is the unfranchised business. And Market America is actually a product brokerage and internet marketing company that actually uses the internet, social networks to distribute it's many products. It's kind of like a mall without walls. And it's all internet based. And so I actually started my unfranchised business through the franchise Market America. And again, my focus, because of the healing that took place, my focus was with the health and nutritional products that they distribute. Right. And so with that, now to the question that you asked, the detox. We actually have a product that's called NutriCleanse, and it is a product that assists you in detoxifying the body and cleansing the colon, detoxifying the liver and cleansing your colon. It's one product, but it benefits both the detoxification of the liver and the cleansing of the colon. And I would say every human being should detox the body at least twice a year because our bodies are so toxic.
How do I know if it's time for me to do a detox? Should I just set the calendar to it? Or
yes,
let's say I've never done it before.
Okay.
But I guess that should be reason to do it. But what are some of the symptoms that I could be experiencing that, that would lead me, maybe I need to do a detox?
Okay, that's a very good question. And I will say again, this is something that even if you don't have a sign, the sign is the fact that we live in a toxic environment. Our food, our food is toxic because of so many of the, different
additives and preservatives,
just all of that.
And all
yes,
that stuff.
yes. Yeah. And so with that alone, everyone should detox. I mean, that's just what we need to cleanse our body, and we need to detoxify, cleanse our colon, detoxify our liver. But some of the signs that would let you know that you may be way overdue, and the first and foremost would be a poor digestive system. Okay, you say, well, what does that look like? Even from the physical view, bloating, a lot of bloating. I'm not talking about you just, having a little excess fat in your abdomen area. I mean bloating. That's probably because you need to detox. I would say skin conditions, any skin condition. I mean, so many people have a lot of skin conditions such as eczema. They have seborrheic dermatitis, just so many skin conditions because the body is toxic and those toxins are trying to escape the body. Then they're going to come out through other openings. The toxin should be dispelled from the body by way of waste, either through your bladder by urinating or either through your colon. The waste should dispel. But because we overwork our colon and overwork our kidneys and overwork the liver, then those toxins are not dispelled that way. So they start looking for other openings. Okay, what openings do we have? We have our eyes, we have our nose, our nostrils, we have our mouth, we have our ears, and we have the skin, the pores. So it's almost like those toxins are screaming, let me out, let me out. That's why so many people have allergies. That's another way that you would know that you need to detox. And you might say, well, that's a lot of people, a lot of children, that I would say parents just settle with the fact that their children have allergies. They need to detox because those toxins are wanting to escape. So you have the nose runs, you have the watery eyes, you have the sore throat, you have the ear infections, you have the skin conditions.
So what is the age that a child should detox?
There's no limitations because now as far as using a supplement, you would want to monitor that based on the age of the child. But when we're talking about detoxing the body, we're literally talking about allowing the colon and allowing the kidneys to rest and allowing the liver to rest. So by doing that for at least 7 days, and this is the program that I promote, at least 7 days, you're eating nothing but fruits and vegetables, drinking water and green tea. A child can do that. without using any product, any supplements along with the detox diet, a child can do that. And they need to do that. And some parents would probably be amazed, before there may be something they might want to try just to see if they, put their child on a detox program for a week. I mean, we're talking about even some of the diagnoses such as ADD. And I mean, we could go on, and I don't want to make any claims here, but I am saying that because the body is toxic, that's really, I would say, one of the contributors to a lot of the sicknesses and diseases that we see not only among children, but even adults.
What's the difference between a detox and a cleanse?
The difference is the colon needs to be cleansed. Some people, I'm glad you asked that, because some people just use the term detox, not really understanding what they're saying. The colon needs to be cleansed. The liver, which purifies the blood, the liver needs to be detoxed. When someone is, say, addicted to drugs and they go through this whole detox, it's because the liver, again, as they detox, any addictions that you have, if you go through a detoxification, some of the addictions that you have, even when it comes to sodas or having addictions for fried foods, if you get rid of the toxins, those toxins cause cravings. So if you detoxify the liver, it even cleanses your palate, where foods and things will start to taste different. And so some of the things that you had a craving for, you'll realize you don't even have the craving. Now, you might still have the psychological piece that I want that donut. Okay. But if you detox, you'll find out that as your blood is being detoxed and being purified, as your palate is being cleansed, the colon being cleansed is very key, because as the toxins build up, they can cause what's called polyps to form on the colon. And the polyps are what lead to colon cancer. So you need the colon cleansed, and you need the detoxification of the liver.
How can people get more information about the detox, about Be Made Whole Center? Okay,
they can actually, I actually have a website, and the website, because we are in partnership now with shop.com, the website is www.shop.com and /Be Made Whole Center. And if they go to that website, they can find out any and everything they want to know, not only about our products, but it has the benefits, the ingredients. I mean, information that they can even share with their physician. All that information is there. Or they can also email me if they so choose. They can email me at bemadewholecenter@yahoo.com. And that is the letter B.
The letter
Just
B.
the letter
Right.
B. bemadewholecenter@yahoo.com.
We've talked about a lot of stuff.
Yes, a lot of stuff.
Is there anything you want to add?
At this, I will say that at this chapter, that's what I'll say, this chapter of my life, it's a second chapter, because we didn't really talk about my journey as an educator. I've taught in education as an educator 18 years, and that is the first chapter of my life. So I am now embracing the journey of, I guess we can call it retired. I don't know if that's
that's the right word.
Yeah, that retired doesn't really describe where I'm at, because basically in this second chapter of my life, it's full of life. And I'm probably finding myself doing even more than I was doing when I was teaching. But I would just say to anyone that has had any struggles, and that would be all of us, struggles, challenges in life, I would say to you, first and foremost, you need to develop a relationship with God. That might sound very religious, but it's not about religion. It is a relationship. My having a strong relationship with God has enabled me to be able to, again, survive those times in my life that I didn't feel like I could go another day. I didn't feel like I even wanted to live. Yes, was I suicidal at times? Yes, I was. But because of the relationship with God, I am an overcomer. And I would say that in addition to developing a relationship with God, understand who you are. Ask God to show you and reveal to you who you are. What is his plan for your life? Where is the support basis for you in the event that you feel like you need others? We all need a mentor. Sad to say, I can't say I really had a mentor. Other than my mother, I didn't have a mentor. So because of that, that is a passion for me to be able to mentor anyone that feels like they need someone to help steer them the right way, and just to walk alongside them as they seek out their journey. I would also say to you, if you don't understand who you are, and if you don't know the value that you have, you won't find that answer except in the Word of God. He will show you who you are, in spite of what you've ever gone through. Don't settle for just being healed. Be made whole.
How can people get in touch with you?
They can contact me by phone, 214-532-8260. Again, that's 214-532-8260. You can contact me by email at bemadewholecenter@yahoo.com, and that's the letter B, madewholecenter@yahoo.com. They also may visit my website, which is www.bemadewholeministries.org. And Facebook. Oh yes, Facebook. You can find me on Facebook under Evangelist Patsy Cole. And yes, I will accept you as my friend. I use my Facebook page as a tool to minister. So yes, I'll accept you as my friend.
Okay. And like I said, thank you once again for participating.
Yes.
And I learned so much more about you today.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm just glad to have you in my home, and glad that you took out your time to get to know me.
Yes.
Yes. And thank you for what you're doing, because I know it's a blessing to a lot of people.
Well,
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
That's it, everybody. Thank you for watching today's show. And remember, if you or someone you know would like to participate in the Getting to Know series, inbox us on Facebook. You can email us at info@sixmanpride.com. And while you're checking out this movie here, or this video here of our overcomer, Evangelist Patsy Cole, make sure you subscribe. We ask people to subscribe so that when we post new videos, you just get an email. And there's a lot of other videos out there that you can check. So thank you again for watching, and see you soon.
It's on again.